this experience of having our own dominion over our own minds interrupted and grabbed from us produces, I think, a profound feeling of alienation. And I want to talk about another thinker who wrote about alienation in a different context in the 19th century. So what is the feeling of alienation? Well, alienation is the feeling of something that should be within us that is brought outside of us. That we are separated from a thing that should be whole, internal to us. And I think one of the defining experiences of contemporary modern life is a feeling of alienation from our own attention, which means alienation from our own consciousness and will. That we don't even have control over where we want to direct that flashlight of thought. That we find ourselves in a moment sitting with someone we love and we want to attend to who is precious to us and feeling some sort of itchiness in us to reach for the phone like Gollum's ring. And that experience, I think, is just absolutely fundamental to what it means to be alive right now. In another context, Marx wrote about this in the 19th century. And that was at a time where something similar was happening to labor that I think is now happening to attention. So let's think about what labor is for a second. And I'm doing like a very sort of coarse Marx 101 here for the really, really sophisticated Marxists in the audience. Labor is something that predates the institutions of capitalism. It's just the sum of human effort and toil, right? In the same ways that like people have always paid attention to stuff before attention got extracted and commodified and bought and sold in microseconds on digital markets, people always worked, they always did stuff. But the experience that Marx identifies in the labor theory of value and his work in the 19th century is that the structures, technologies, and institutions of industrial capitalism meant that a thing that used to be within you is now being taken outside of you. Think about the difference between a shoemaker in a sort of pre-industrial capitalism situation and someone who's making shoes on a factory line. A shoemaker has a shop, they make a shoe. They buy the materials, they have a kind of narrative arc and telos and progression to their work. They watch as the shoe gets made, kind of like the carpet cleaning videos. And then at the end of that process, they own a shoe that's theirs, which they then sell to someone. Someone who is on an assembly line stamping soles onto shoes 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day has a very different experience. In an objective sense, Marx's argument is that the value of their labor was now actually objectively outside of them, as opposed to the shoemaker who, again, owns the shoe at the end of the process. That it's objectively outside them. But also in a subjective sense, there's a profound feeling of alienation that this thing that's all you have, labor, what you do with your body and your mind and your toil, is being extracted from you for a price. One of the paradoxes that he identifies at this time is that labor has a weird kind of value depending on how you look at it. So in the aggregate, right, all of the labor in the world is incredibly valuable. Like, this is the sort of insight, right, of a strike. If you take all the labor away, there's no factory and there's no company. There are no profits. So in the aggregate, labor is very valuable. But each individual's worker's slice of that value is tiny. Right? Like if you're working in a sweatshop stamping soles, you're barely making enough money for your kids. And yet, from the perspective of the worker, that labor is all you have. All you have is what you do with your body and your mind and your toil and your effort. It is all you have. When it's aggregated together, it can make fortunes, but to you, it costs nothing in the market, and yet it's all you have. That exact same paradox exists right now with our attention. If you aggregate attention enough at scale, you will be worth hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars. That is what an attention company like Alphabet Google does. It's what an attention company that makes these called Apple does. It's what an attention company named Microsoft does. And yet, the actual market cost of your attention, each second someone serves you an ad here, is fractions of a penny. Each individual instance of the market transaction in which your attention is commodified and extracted and sold is nothing. It's like the pittance paid to the sweatshop worker. And yet, your attention is all you have. Your control over your own mind, whether you will be present to people that you love, whether you will attend to the bounty and beauty of the natural world that sits before us, whether you will be allowed to listen to your own thoughts, that's all you have. That's all any of us have. And yet, in the same way that the sum total of human beings' effort and toil was being taken in the sweatshops of industrial capitalism, that thing is being taken from us now.